Hey, this is Greg. Today I'm putting up a video. I want to talk about a subject called excuses and limiting belief. And I want to start off this little session with a story that goes back about 20-25 years ago. And at the time I was living in another suburb here in Brisbane, just young at that stage, obviously newly married, etc. And we lived directly opposite a park. And when my son was very, very little, we decided we'd go out and buy him a dog, to keep company and play with, etc. And so we bought a little black Labrador, and we gave him the strange name of Mutzo. I don't know how I actually came up with that name, but when I think back now, it's a bit of a crazy kind of name, isn't it? But anyway, we called him Mutzo, and he was a fabulous dog because, like all dogs, he would love you unconditionally. He would want to go out and play, and he'd run with you and come up and give you cuddles. And dogs are just terrific to have around. In fact, any pet is terrific, but dogs are especially terrific. And one of the things I used to love to do is I used to go across to the park with a tennis ball and throw the tennis ball. And old Mutzo used to go out there and pick up the ball and come back, and we could do that over and over again. But after a while, obviously, that tennis ball used to get, roll in a bit of mud and a bit of dirt, and of course old Mutzo, he'd be slothering all over this thing and get a bit damp and wet and a little bit yucky to be picking up. But anyway, he didn't care. He loved it and he enjoyed it, so we kept on doing it, and I sort of, tentatively throw this thing. But it was interesting. After it got really damp and moist and yucky, I used to sort of think, well, I'm going to throw him a new ball. So what I'd do, old Mutzo used to come back with the old tennis ball in his mouth, and I used to pick up a new one and throw it. And he'd take off after that new ball. But when he got to the ball, he still had the old one in his mouth. And he kind of used to get a little bit confused. He used to look back at me and think, well, I've got a tennis ball, it's in my mouth, and here's a new one, and for some reason he just wouldn't drop it. And the analogy I want to make is a bit like human beings. We're out there and we've got these tennis balls, we've got these excuses that we're holding on to that limit us from moving forward. And it's not until we keep on seeing new opportunities thrown at us or new tennis balls that are coming to us that we've got to make some decisions about how we're actually going to move forward. And so, we have these things in our mind that they get built up from birth, statements that you run in your head, like, I'm no good at this, I don't really understand technology, I'm too old to get involved in social media, I'm too young to start a business, I'm too old to start a business, etc., etc. And this kind of damaging, limiting belief really stops us from actually moving forward. And so you've got to think, how can I actually change that? Because this language that we've been using in our head over and over each and every day stops us and limits us from moving actually forward. And so I go back to the story of the dog, and there's old Mutzo. He's got the old tennis ball in the mouth, he's got the new one laying on the ground, he's making a decision. And the only way you ever change that is you keep on throwing the new ball. You keep on throwing the new one out there. Eventually, he gets up the idea he's got to drop the old tennis ball. He's got to drop those limiting beliefs from a human perspective and start to pick up the new ones and run with that new tennis ball. And that's what we've got to do. If you've got these limiting beliefs out there that's stopping you moving forward, you've got to drop that old tennis ball and you've got to pick up the new one. And how do you do that? You start changing the language that you use on a daily basis. Instead of saying things like, oh, I can't afford that, you've got to start saying things like, well, I choose not to spend my money on that now. You've got to start using positive more statements based in the present that are going to actually help you change from where you're at. A good friend of mine, Kody Bateman, put me onto a fabulous concept. He called them I am statements. And in I am statements, we just make the statement that says, I am, etc., etc., etc. So I am able to get out there and do this business. I am fit and toned and looking after my health. I am. And with those sort of statements, they become extremely empowering to you. They will help you move forward and they will create a much better life. So I hope that's been a great tip for you. I look forward to again catching up with you real soon. Bye for now.